All right, welcome back to Crypto Front. This is the front line where we are fighting together side by side for financial freedom. Let's go ahead and take another quick look here at the Jasmi price chart. Of course, time and again, I've always come to you and try to show you like the bullish side of what the Jasmi price chart can do. But obviously, in moments like these ones, when you see that the price pretty much over the last few months, we can say like 6 or 7 months like that, it has just been pretty much going sideways here. We have, of course, like extreme swings. For example, from the bottom here until the top, you can see that this is like a positive, plus 162% or something like that. But at the same time, we also have got this swings towards the downside where you experience like minus 56%. And when the process has been repeating like this, it has, officially become a washing machine, and a lot of people have given up on the price, eventually coming out of this whole thing to go ahead and push towards the upside. So in today's video, I'm really just going to be looking at how the price action is looking, try to come up with a very honest opinion of what I think at the end of the day, because, the honest truth is that you could actually make very strong cases for both the bullish side as well as the bearish side. So as you saw on the title, that this doesn't make any sense actually. But at the end of the day, I think we have to carry an opinion to say, okay, I'm going to be putting my money right here if this thing works, or I'm totally going to be selling everything and running for the hills. If you want to see what the numbers and the facts are saying, stay tuned in. But before we start, I want to kindly ask you to help me spread the video by delicately tapping the like button. It will, of course, tell the YouTube algorithm that yes, this video is short and straight to the point, but this is exactly what you need in a moment like this one. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, because I do TA on Jasmi and a number of other different altcoins on a regular basis. And without me further running my mouth too much, let me just get to the main chart that you probably have seen elsewhere, but it's such an important chart because whenever this has happened, this is when people have made a lot of money in the crypto market. So what we are looking at right here is the chart of the Bitcoin dominance. For beginners, this is basically the total market share that the Bitcoin has of the top 125 coins that we have out there. So in moments like this, when the Bitcoin dominance is dropping, it means that most investors are favoring to put their money into altcoins rather than Bitcoin. And we have seen the first altcoin season, the mother of all altcoin season back in 2017, happened when the Bitcoin dominance was collapsing, and it was of course a season of winning for a lot of people. Now, we also saw the same thing back in 2021, and the most interesting thing about this level that the Bitcoin dominance dropped off of is exactly where we are sitting today. And we are below the support level, meaning that continuation to the downside here is actually very, very much likely, right? If you're anybody who has looked at charts, you understand that when the chart is going up, we say time and again in crypto that it goes up using an escalator, but eventually when it decides to go towards the downside, it goes down very much quickly, as if it's using an elevator, right? So these are the dynamics that we are looking at right now, and every single metric that you look at on this specific chart, it's so easy to understand that the next thing that the Bitcoin dominance is going to do here is to fall towards the downside. I think, in my humble opinion, market makers also know that this has been the messaging time and again from big to small influencers like me, but they have, of course, to make it very much difficult for people to doubt that, this time is different. But honestly, what we have seen time and again, if you've spent a little time in the market, you know that it's never different. Some things just remain the same. So basically here, the thesis is that nothing has changed. I think we still see the Bitcoin dominance fall towards the downside here, and it's in this moment that we are going to be seeing the Jasmi price that also just really do a fantastic job. Now we're talking about Jasmi. How actually is Jasmi holding against the Bitcoin price? And we have got this structure here where you clearly see that this is a support level of years beginning 2022 up until 2025. Right here we are back to those same levels, and the most likely thing that you do on a support level is to push towards the upside. Of course, if this support breaks, this is a totally different gameplay altogether for Jasmi. Probably would have to capitulate and say, look, it's probably lights out for the Jasmi price chart. But right as we speak, we are sitting on top of a major support, multi-year support. And even if we take a look at the underlying indicators like the RSI, for example, we can clearly see that these are levels that have actually held the price quite well here for Jasmi. So it is, of course, looking good right here. I think there isn't much to deny about this. So Jasmi is looking to outperform Bitcoin, meaning that when Bitcoin goes up maybe like, let's say 10%, Jasmi goes up by 30-40%, whatever the case may be. So it's still looking good. If we also look elsewhere, we are looking at one of the major market participants here. This is Ethereum. Below here in blue is the Jasmi price, and just take a look at how these things move in tandem. I mean, it's 1:1 basically. Obviously, Jasmine pumps more, but the general movement here is pretty much the same. I was punching these numbers in ChatGPT, taking a look at data from Yahoo Finance and something like that. There is over an 80% correlation between the Jasmine price action and Ethereum itself. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Ethereum is looking very good at this point. Now, these things, in as much as they generally move together, they don't move together in the same instance. There is a little bit of a lag that happens right there. And I think that's exactly the same thing that is happening here with the Jasmine price set. What we are seeing, if I'm just going to be removing the Jasmine price set for a second, when we take a look at Ethereum, is that Ethereum managed to break this resistance that was there ever since, like, March of 2024. And this has been flipped into a support level up until this point, because look, this is no coincidence that you are just dropping from this level here, and all of a sudden you just find support on top of previous levels that have acted as resistance. So this is no coincidence in my opinion. And if this is supposed to hold here for Ethereum and it starts pushing towards the upside one more time, let me bring back the Jasmine price set. This also is a moment in which I anticipate the Jasmine price set, just like it has done in the past over and over again, to go ahead and start moving towards that 9 cents target that we have. Then from there, obviously, we're looking at higher price tags like 23 cents. We also have got the best price target of right around 32 cents and stuff like that. But obviously, all eyes on Ethereum right now, in as much as I don't hold a lot of it's a matter of cheering for Ethereum to go ahead, hit this price target, $8,000, $11,000, and even potentially as high as $17,000. That's going to be in our favor very much. So you see, we have got this indicator, a leading indicator in terms of what the Jasmine price set can do in Ethereum, and it's looking quite safe. Obviously, when we also come to the Jasmine price set itself, we've got some patterns that we have seen emerge time and again. One of the more successful one is this falling wedge that I've said over and over on the channel, that they have got a success rate of higher than 66%, and it has been even more than that here for Jasmine. We can go as far back as 2023 and see how these patterns have performed. You can see this falling wedge right here hit its price target correctly, and this one also hit its price target and even exceeded higher than that. This one outperformed everything, and this one too even exceeded its price target. This one massively exceeding its price targets as well, and the same with this one right here, and this one right here, not quite yet, but I think we can still move on to go ahead and break the resistance of right around 2.2 cents here for Jasmine, because we have also seen that we have formed another falling wedge right here as well. It's much more visible on lower time frames. Maybe I can opt for an 8-hourly time frame here, and if this is supposed to hold, then we could also be anticipating Jasmine immediate short term to start pushing towards the upside. However, I don't want to be rigid and say the bottom is in right here, because I also employ Fibonacci retracement tools to try and find out where the support level is. So you can see a demarcation that I made at the low here, and I'm just psychologically preparing to say, okay, if Jasmine is just going to be going sideways a little bit much more, maybe, just maybe, a support level of right around 1.39 cents is also something that I'm very much welcome to. We'll see what sort of reaction that we get right there. And I always come to you and talk about the 50 daily moving average over and over again on the channel. Let me just go ahead and give a quick update on that. The bottom line here is that above the 50 daily moving average, Jasmine is bullish. Below the 50 daily moving average, Jasmine is bearish, right? It's been established. However, when I look at the macro, which I think has got more weight when it comes to decision making here for me, yes, Jasmine at this point is below the 50 daily moving average. What this is indicating for me is that we're either going to be pushing down just a little bit here for Jasmine, or we're going to be going sideways. If the market dynamics were looking very different, like Ethereum is doing bad as well, and we also see the major one, Bitcoin, not doing so great, I would be saying that this is a major warning sign here for Jasmine. Yeah, I still expect a little bit of rejection here, okay, but not something that is too big here. So I think it's a waiting game right at this point to see what Ethereum does. If it just goes on to break that $5,000, I think Jasmine will, and just as much as it has done in the past. I showed you that correlation of higher than 80%. I think it will follow Ethereum very much closely right there. Really, if you take a look at where the rest of the market is, even if you look at the global market itself, like the United States market, for example, let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average here. And it's really knocking very much strongly on all-time highs. Why am I bringing this up once again? Just because Jasmine is also part of the global finance, and as much as it's a small one, you can see that there is also some positive correlations that happen time and again here. Basically, Jasmi happens to follow the liquidity that comes with the United States market as well. And once this Dow Jones Industrial Average manages to break into an all-time high, I think it's all systems go, even for the Jasmi price as well. Now, one thing that you realize with all the examples that I'm giving as indicators and stuff like that is that you could also make the total opposite argument and say that, look here, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is, at a resistance level. So at any moment, this thing is that, pushing towards the downside. And of course, that would also translate to Jasmi really pushing badly towards the downside. We don't want to be seeing that. Obviously, you could also come here to the Jasmi Bitcoin chart here and say, well, it on a support level. However, the whole thing can totally break towards the downside and dump, right? So this is why I was saying that it's really a critical point, and it doesn't make any sense because, which is which. You can make very strong cases for both sides. However, at the end of the day, you have to take a side, right? Because you're either going to be putting money into the market, or you're going to be taking money out of the market because you anticipate something is going to, be happening. Now, my position here, I think, is very much clear that I think that at the end of the day, this market is really pushing towards the upside, because if you also look at things like the total market cap of all crypto, we are literally sitting at all-time highs. But the current fear that we are seeing right across the board, like on X, for example, you post something positive, you have more negative comments than positive comments, and it's getting to that point where everybody is pretty much exhausted. So remember, I was talking about market makers knowing and understanding that everybody is looking at that Bitcoin dominance chart, and also maybe understanding the Ethereum chart and things like this. But one thing that they have got in their pocket is to drag this thing as long as they can, because they know that for sure eventually, even strong believers will be able just to capitulate. So there is that thing in the market called time capitulation. I think that's the strategy that they're using at this point to make sure that everybody is tired and stop believing in altcoin season. But one thing for me is very much clear, that this Bitcoin dominance chart is screaming that a collapse is coming here, which obviously translates to a great altcoin season, not only for Jasmine, but really just the general market. So I know times are hard at this point. I have got feelings just as you guys have. Obviously, I am a cheerleader for the Jasmine community, and I'm going to continue to be one. I will do my best to go ahead and try and outpatient everybody, because this is what needs to be done. When it comes to making money, people want to try and do it very much quickly, but we forget that most of the things that we try to do, especially as men, they're not very much easy things. It takes endurance, right? Remember that what separates men from boys is endurance. So we'll see what eventually happens in the few, next weeks and days, but my position is very much straight, right? That look, the bigger market participants like Ethereum are indicating positive pictures here for the Jasmine price, as you can see with this positive correlation. And if you also take a look at how Jasmine is performing against Bitcoin, we are looking at a positive picture there. Yeah, obviously somebody can choose to be pessimistic, but there are bigger things, even like the stock market. And yes, I'm deciding to stay bullish on Jasmine, although as I indicated, below the 50 daily moving average, things can be a little bit shaky. But I'm not going to be shaken, right? But before I go, let me show you this fantastic activity that we are doing with our partners over there at Bitunix, the exchange. Since you have watched until the very end of the video, you can just go ahead and claim up to $1,010 here for just using the exchange, right? So let me explain to you how this works. So simply registering and confirming your phone number or your email gets you $10. But if you want to go a step ahead and start using the exchange, meaning depositing money and doing transactions and stuff like that, gets you up to $500. So as an example, if you deposit a total of $1,000, you get to 200 USDT, and $2,500 gets you like $500, and you can trade this bonus, meaning that you can actually make much more money on that. We always say that this is a gift that keeps giving, because you're basically making money out of thin air, right? Now, it doesn't actually end there. You see, as you continue making these trades both on spot and on futures, you actually earn also depending on your volume, right? So you can trade as high as $500 on top of that. So this is where I was saying, in total you could make up to $1,000, but this is only the baseline, right? What happens if you trade and you win? That's even something that is asymmetrical. I can't calculate that now. That's going to be dependent on how much you are successful in your trades. So I want to thank you so much for watching the video. If you could, please delicately tap the like button and share the video with your friends and family. I will see you on the next one. Take really good care of yourselves. Bye bye.